For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard, we will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. If the truth is out there, we will find it. But only by sheer accident.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Welcome to 30-odd minutes. This is the show your Orthodox rabbi warned you about. Appreciate you being here. I'm Jeff Belanger, and I'm excited to be here in the crossroads of Mississippi, behind me, you can see, where many a soul has been sold to the devil in exchange for something. We're talking about legends and lore tonight, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Folklore, urban legends, all the weird stuff that you did as a kid. It's all going to come out. Get ready. All right, want to remind you, if you're watching the show live online at 30oddminutes.com, jump in our chat room because Sarah, Robin, Oddbot3000, are ready to take your questions, pass them up to our guest, and keep the general mayhem running. We've got some great emails this week, and Miss Sarah, please tell us.
All right. So this one says, to the oddball in charge. Obviously, she meant me. First off, I want to start out by saying I am a huge fan of your show. Well done. I do, however, have one teeny tiny complaint. I could not help but notice that your show intro is the same old intro from way back when. Now, you guys have the lovely and talented Sarah on the show regularly, and I mean, I think you owe it to her to update the intro and include her. It can't be easy being the only gal amongst a fraternity of smelly dudes all the time. And I speak from experience. Really? You can smell them from out there? Anyway, guys, it's time to give the lady on the team a spot in the intro. Don't make me start a Facebook petition, because I totally will. Thanks in advance, Lisa Harris, Salt Lake City, Utah. Well, Lisa, you got me thinking, what would I look like if I was in the intro?
For the next 30 minutes, we will explore the unexplained. From mysteries beyond our galaxy to ghostly phenomena in our own backyard, we will dive into our psychic abilities and explore everything from conspiracies to the just plain weird. Welcome to 30-odd minutes.
Probably not what you had in mind, but there you go. We aim to please. All right, Jeff, back to you.
Well done, well done. I love the new intro. I think that's a winner. I can't believe we didn't think of that before. Okay, folklore, legends. You know the stuff you've heard about, the stories that get passed around. You may have played the telephone game when you were in elementary school. All of that stuff is what we're talking about tonight. And what a guest to do it. Dr. Michael Bell. He received his Ph.D. in folklore from Indiana University, Bloomington, and has since gone on to publish many papers on the subject of oral traditions and folklore. He's also taught folklore and anthropology at the university level. His book, Food for the Dead, On the Trail of New England's Vampires, is the Bible of New England vampire tales. He knows about all things that go bump in the night. You've seen him on the National Geographic Channel, the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, A&E, Fox, and tonight he's all yours on 30-odd minutes. Please welcome our good friend of a friend, Dr. Michael Bell. Oh, thank you, Andrew. I realize one doesn't introduce Dr. Michael Bell, one summons him, so we're going to try this. Michael Bell. Michael Bell. Michael Bell. Michael Bell. Hey! It worked. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome. Nice to be here.
I
don't know how I did that.
I don't know how you did that either. Oh, here's your candle. Thanks, Andrew. Oh, sorry. Gosh. Is this the lowest you've ever sunk as far as media appearances?
Absolutely not.
Oh, yes. All right. We're not number last. All right. Let's start at the very beginning. What is folklore?
Well, it's not just stuff you learned as a kid.
Okay, good.
It's not anything that's false and untrue.
Right.
We call, oh, that's just folklore. It's actually a special process of communication, I think.
Right.
And it's unofficial culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's passed down through generations by oral tradition, by word of mouth.
Right.
So it's not something that's sanctioned by officialdom or governments or schools. You don't learn it in the classroom. You might learn it in school, but you'll learn it out on the playground.
Right.
Or somewhere else.
I learned everything in the playground, really.
That's where you learn everything.
That's right.
It's not popular culture or mass media.
Right.
So it exists apart from those, even though it gets incorporated into those channels sometimes, those channels of communication.
Right.
And it's not always the same.
Right.
We
That's
think,
right.
We think it's always just passed down, it's always the same, never changes. It's emergent,
Right.
meaning that it's always continually being recreated from old stuff.
Right, and evolving, evolution and story,
Exactly.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're here, as you can see behind us, we're here in the crossroads of Mississippi, where blues legend Johnson sold his soul to the devil. Would you be willing to sell your soul to play guitar?
No.
Really?
I don't
Not to
think
anyone?
so. I don't think so, no.
Oh, all
If
right.
I have a soul.
Right, if you even have a
If I
soul.
have a soul.
You know that story, right?
Oh, yeah.
Robert Johnson,
And
blues
he's
legend.
not the only one. You know, other blues players have said they've done the same thing.
Right.
It gives them an aura of dealing with things that are kind of sketchy and supernatural. And
Just to quickly recap that story of Robert Johnson. He grew up wanting to play music, started to play guitar, disappeared from his town for a few years, and came back. Really good. Really, really good. And the story, and he never said this, he never said he sold his soul to the devil. Some of his predecessors did, as you said. But I think it was, how did you get so good so fast, right? And that's what people made up to try to cut him down. And it's interesting that people still talk about that today. I mean, it's almost like a societal cliche, right? Oh, you sold your soul to the devil to get
Right,
that
sure.
job, or
Oh, yeah.
or do whatever. And it can't be your hard work, talent, or dedication to something.
Right.
It's a belittling kind of story.
That's the way I feel about aliens coming down and telling us everything we know, too.
Right, okay.
It's the same kind of thing. It's a denial of the self-worth.
Right, so ancient cultures, right? The Nazca lines in Peru, the pyramids of
Right.
Egypt.
Well, they couldn't have done that themselves.
Right,
You know, you couldn't have learned to play the music on your own.
right.
It has to be supernatural.
And so let's talk about things like urban legends, which you had said earlier is kind of a misnomer. And I know in the folklore community that's kind of like it's a term that, I mean, it implies it takes place in a city, which obviously many of
Yeah,
them.
most of them take place in the suburbs or other
Right.
places, too, in malls.
Right, right, right.
And a lot of the so-called urban legends go way back in time, like the vanishing hitchhiker. You know, folklorists from England has traced it back to at least to the 17th century, the same kind of idea.
Sure.
Of course, it's not in an automobile.
Right, yeah, your carriages and things
Right,
like that.
right.
And so let's talk about the Phantom Hitchhiker for a minute, because it seems to me that academic folklorists want to fit all these stories that get passed around campfires and now on the internet and texts and tweets and all that other stuff into neat little boxes. Like, oh, you pulled over on the side of the road and you picked up a hitchhiker and she got in the car and then she was gone. That's a vanishing hitchhiker tale, which sure, and you're right, they're all over. Resurrection Mary in Chicago and Route 44, the redheaded hitchhiker in Massachusetts, they're all over the place. But what happens, and that's fine when I tell you that I've had my friend's cousin's brother saw this, but what happens when it's a first-person narrative, when someone says, I saw it? Do academic folklorists deny those first-hand accounts?
Well, first of all, it's not, as scholars, it's not our position to say, you know, what you're telling me happened or didn't happen. I don't think my belief is so relevant. It's what the person who's telling the story believes. It's what the audience believes.
Right.
And it's that interaction that we look at, because I think people's legends, especially the so-called supernatural personal experience legends, can say a lot about the individual, about the culture they live in, the society they live in,
Right.
about how they see where they fit into the landscape and into the realm of the natural world, and then the limits of what is natural, the boundaries of the extent of our experience.
But wouldn't you think that anyone passing on any legend at all must believe it to some degree, otherwise it wouldn't catch, right? I mean, I must think that this...
Well, I think that's true many times, but if you hear enough of the stories, you realize that a lot of times people who are telling the stories are grappling with that idea of belief themselves.
Right.
They're telling it to you because they want to get another opinion, and they're saying, this
Yeah.
happened to me, I'm not sure what it means, I'm not sure, did it really happen?
Right.
And so that's an important part of a legend. It's called the dialectic of the legend.
Right.
It's that back and forth between the teller and the people in the audience, and then that kind of questioning,
Right.
because most legends occupy that liminal area of believability and unbelievability. They're right there in that gray area.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them worthy to pass on and to discuss. So it's not a trivial thing. It's if people are discussing, metaphysics and epistemology, if you want to put it in philosophical terms.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we know what we know, and what are the limits of our experience? What's real and what's beyond our understanding?
Right. No,
and that's what these legends do, and that's an important thing.
You're
it always has been.
And actually, I do realize we forgot to get you something to drink. I'm sorry. Can you you got something for us? I apologize. It's very rude. Appreciate that. Is this Coke?
Yes, Coke.
Oh, it's a name brand?
Yes.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry. Dr. Bell,
thank you.
I have a bag of Pop Rocks here. Do you know if
they've killed many people.
If you eat these and drink that, you'll die?
I know.
Do you want to try it?
Killed many people in the 70s. No, I don't think so.
Come on. I'll do it.
Okay.
No, Jeff.
No, I'll do it.
Do it.
Okay.
Dude, no.
No.
He's testing the urban legend.
No, your head's going to blow off.
Dude, I'm not taking it.
What if it really happens?
Oh, wait.
Then we got it up, Phil?
Wait.
No, dude, don't.
Oh, man.
You won't do it.
Mikey died this way, didn't he?
Get a bib.
It's a fact.
The rice chips guy?
You're doing it. We'll lose him.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah?
It's kind of like BB guns being shot in my mouth. Wait a minute. So Mikey from Life Cereal, I heard he died this way.
Oh, yeah. It's not an urban legend.
No. Isn't that true?
Yeah.
It's not true. Come on.
I'm not questioning anybody's belief.
Actually, I looked it up.
I'm just going to analyze it and interpret it.
They're still popping in my mouth. This is kind of he's working in the film industry today, and he's doing fine.
Good.
So, yeah, here.
Did you rehearse that?
No, we couldn't rehearse that. Are you kidding? I only have one package. There you go. Enjoy.
Love the pop rock junkie.
Oh, my goodness. I haven't had those
You can
in
buy
years.
those still.
Obviously.
Maybe you got it on eBay or something.
No, I got it from another website, but I did have to buy them in bulk, so there's plenty to go around when we're done. But yeah, so one of those urban legends that people talk about. And another one, I think this is so pertinent. Let's talk about a field report that we got in recently from the lovely and talented Sarah. Please, let's roll it.
Frigid cold Idaho, and I am here at a cemetery that I used to come to quite often as a child. And one of the myths of this cemetery was that there was an above-ground grave that would actually knock back at you if you came, preferably at night, and knocked on it. Supposedly the resident inside would knock back at you. Now, of course, I tried this on several occasions with no luck. Of course, everybody knows somebody who knows somebody that this happened to and kept the myth going. But for me personally, she didn't want to talk to me.
Okay, what Sarah did is classic legend tripping. Where she grew up in Idaho, an above-ground crypt, knock on it, it's said to knock back. Didn't work for her, but it worked for a friend of a friend, right? That's the kind of story that goes around. Ostension, right? Which Bill Ellis, I think, is he the person that coined that term?
I don't know if he coined it. Oh, you mean legend tripping?
Legend tripping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so the whole idea is it's kind of like a rite of passage where you're daring each other to do this at night. I'm sure if the moon is full, all the better. There's midnight, you name the variables that make that more. We all did this. Did you do that as a kid? Did you do stuff? What did you do?
Sure. We went out to railroad tracks where somebody supposedly was hit by a train and the ghost was there and tried to experience the ghost.
Right.
Things like that.
What do you think draws us to do this kind of stuff? I mean, is it testing our own beliefs, or is it, what is it?
I think it's so many different things. It's
Right.
a rite of passage, so it's part of growing up. You're cutting yourself loose
Right.
from your family. You're going out with just your friends at your own age. You're engaging in something that's your parents wouldn't really approve,
Right.
and you're daring something out there
Yeah.
to show up and scare you.
Right. I forget which book I was reading recently that talked about why some people go doing these things. And as we said, calling them urban legends is a misnomer because it's often not even suburbs, but rural areas. And, excuse me, Coke and Pop Rocks, who would have thought? Not a good idea. Trying to host something.
Still alive.
Yeah, so this is live, right.
At least it's that end.
Yeah, that's right, for
You're
now.
lucky to be alive, Jeff.
I am lucky to be alive. I just toyed with death. But one of the points, these kids said, look, out here in the sticks in Indiana, there's not much to put your life in danger. And the whole notion of, flashing your headlights 3 times at this bridge and this monster comes out to kill you, we lack that fear, that primal fear that comes from the unknown, that comes from flirting with death, all of those things. And so maybe that's a part of the legend trip too, is that you're trying to recreate a dangerous, potentially dangerous scenario, whether it's spiritually dangerous, like summoning the devil.
Well, yeah. Obviously, there's some sort of an adrenaline rush that people get when they're actually in danger. And if you can recreate that, if you can put your mindset to the place where you think that you're going to be in danger, then maybe you can experience that rush, the thrill, the chill.
And so this is the point that I think is so important. There's so many television shows now about looking for ghosts, looking for UFOs, looking for monsters. We've been on some of these shows, And what's interesting to me is that they're legend tripping. Sure, they've got thermal imaging cameras and $50,000 worth of gear, but they're trying to wrap that $50,000 worth of gear around a story.
Well, yeah, and they're trying to take hundreds of thousands of people with them.
Right.
On the legend trip.
Yeah, that's right.
So that people can experience it from a distance, which is kind of, I'd not say it's a cop-out, but it's not nearly as exciting
as being there yourself. As a guy that goes to some of these conferences that take place at some of these locations that have been on TV, I started to realize that a lot of people aren't really that interested in the equipment. They're interested in standing there. They're interested in having that. And I realized, this isn't a rite of passage because, number one, they paid good money, sometimes big money, to have this opportunity. They have permission. We're not trespassing. And so maybe legend tripping could become, kind of ghost hunting light, UFO hunting light, sky watching light, the idea of trying to have the experience. And that's what interests me so much, especially looking at these shows and realizing, like, these guys are legend tripping. That's what, they heard.
I think you're right.
They heard a story, they heard a haunted legend, and it goes around.
But they're commodifying the legend trip.
Right.
It's it's being branded and commercialized.
That's right.
And sold.
And sold tickets.
So it's it puts it, in a sense, it takes it out of what I would say is the folk realm and puts it in the realm of mass media, popular culture,
right?
Which is a whole different way of communicating and interacting with different motives,
right?
And different outcomes.
Right.
So,
yeah,
it's a different context.
Yeah, understood.
But it's I understand. Yeah, that's legend tripping in a sense.
Yeah. It's the start of it. Okay, actually, we do have a question for you in our chat room. Rob, please, what do they want to know?
Yes, Jennifer Toth wrote a book called The Mole People, Life in the Tunnels of New York City, and it's a book about mole people living in New York City in the tunnels. Do you believe that's an urban legend or some kind of fact behind it?
I don't know. I haven't read the book. So
you haven't read the book?
No.
Quick, can we get the book?
I'm not a mole person.
This won't take a minute.
How about all the urban legends related to The Wizard of Oz, such as the small people committing suicide in the background? And if you tune it up to Dark Side of the Moon, a lot of the sequences.
Actually, we tried that once at a gathering.
We're getting to the good stuff, folks. Please.
Didn't come off the way it was supposed to. I mean.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just us. We're just clumsy or klutzy, and we couldn't sequence.
Because I tried Dark Side of the Moon to SpongeBob. And,
SpongeBob. No,
it's got completely different results.
I'm sure.
Entirely. I don't even know what's happening. So you tried it, and you didn't sync up for you?
No, it did not sync up.
Were you of a clear mindset?
Oh yeah.
Why?
I was with my children.
There's the
I was with my not quite adult children who wanted to do this. I said, okay, let's do it.
What have you tested other legends?
Not really.
Are you superstitious, or you just want to remain on the outside?
We're all superstitious.
Yeah.
We really are.
Sure.
I mean, people deny it, but the Gallup poll from 2005 found that 3 out of 4 Americans believed in something we would call supernatural, whether it's paranormal.
Yeah.
Maybe they're paranoid.
We have that too.
Yeah. Aliens, ESP, horoscopes, astrology.
Yeah.
Ghosts. So that's a huge majority of Americans.
Absolutely.
So science, technology, knowledge, all of this has had very little impact on the numbers of people that still believe in the old ideas and have the old beliefs. And technology, in fact, is incorporated into, like you said, people who go out with the technology and try to to find things that we can't see through our normal senses.
Right. Well, let's talk about how the internet has affected folklore, because it used to be a story that you passed from one person to another verbally, right? And then telephones came along, and,
Right.
and they could travel faster, and now the internet, my goodness. Is it putting more noise out there, or is it just accelerating? Is it making it more interesting for a folklorist?
Well, it's just another channel of communication, and,
Right.
and folklore can exist in different channels. I mean, before the internet, when you had photocopy folklore
Right.
going around, people would photocopy something, then change it a little bit, maybe personalize it, localize it, and then photocopy it, pass it out in the office, and it's the same kind of
Right.
process that's going on. Technology gets used by the folk process.
Yeah.
People are innovative, and they're not limited to just face-to-face interaction, you know,
Right.
with verbal communication.
So your answers are so objective, and I appreciate that. Do you believe that there are ghosts? Are you in that 75% of Americans, or are you in the 25?
I think one reason I became a folklorist were the stories of my grandmother and my father, who had experiences that you would call supernatural.
Right.
And my father was a very rational person. He was a newspaper reporter, just the facts, ma'am,
Yep.
kind of guy. But he had these experiences that he could talk about over and over again. And so I'm agnostic.
Devoutly so?
Isn't that kind of an oxymoron?
A little bit. Thanks for picking up on that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have another question for you, please, Sarah.
Okay.
We do. We have one from Carrie. She wants to know about the Bloody Mary urban legend. And I know as a girl, like slumber parties, that was like the most popular thing to try and do.
With the AIDS thing?
No, it's the one where you look into a mirror and can
okay.
invoke her if you say her
okay.
name 3 times over in the dark.
Okay.
Yeah, she wants to know if you know anything about that, where the roots of that might have come
I
from.
know just about what you said. That's about what
like
I
what
know.
it is, yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those urban legends that just keeps going around
Yeah.
and around, and it gets recycled in different ways too.
I'm willing to try it. Are you?
Go ahead. You
Great.
did
All
the
right.
pop rocks.
Okay.
You must be
Would you want
infallible.
this one?
Oh, go ahead. I'll let
Okay.
you do
All
it.
right. What you do at the sleepover is to summon Bloody Mary, and it's a great story, by the way. Usually under just candlelight. So let's turn off all the lights. No, let's not do that. Andy would have a freak. Okay, so you look into the mirror, because the story goes, Mary, and she had a last name at some point, very pretty girl, was horribly disfigured, and her parents wouldn't let her see a mirror for a long time, because they said, you can't handle the shock. This is the legend. And eventually, curiosity got the better of her. Mary goes up and she sees a mirror and is so horrified, she goes into the mirror looking for her old reflection, the beautiful young girl that once existed. And now, to this day, she exists in the realm of the mirror, and especially girls at slumber parties would hold up the candle and they'd look in the mirror and try to summon her by saying, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Okay, I'm not saying it the third time, because I am a little bit superstitious.
Scaredy cat.
I am a little bit scared. And so,
I don't know.
and on the third incantation, she's said to come through and attack you. And as evidence of that, some girls will say, "Oh, my friend got scratched. She had a scratch on her face, and so Bloody Mary's the real thing." It's a great legend that still gets passed around and still talked about today. And I'm sure there's. You mentioned AIDS Mary, which do you want to tell that one? Do you know the origins of that when
No.
it showed up? Come on, you're the folklorist. You don't know that one?
No, I mean I know it. You tell me.
Come on. Okay, how I heard it is.
I collect stories. I don't tell stories.
God, you're killing me. All right. The way I heard AIDS Mary is
wanna
that
hear your version.
a businessman traveling gets lucky, picks up an attractive woman at the hotel bar. They have a raucous time that night, and when he wakes up, there might be a message in lipstick on the mirror that says, "Welcome to the reality of AIDS."
Welcome to the world of AIDS.
Or yeah, or something like that, or HIV, and no clue who she was, is, or otherwise, and now he thinks he's infected. And but there's a moral to the story, right? That this
Well,
gets passed around.
Yeah.
Well, don't do that.
Yeah, right.
You know who you're sleeping with.
Right.
It's an old moral.
Yes, it is.
But and this started really at the time of AIDS, where everybody's talking about it
Right.
in the 80s and 90s,
Right.
when it's on everybody's minds, and that's how I heard it anyway. After the show, we are going to take your liver. There's no way around it. anthropology.
Get the ice ready.
Yeah, it's come in the back.
Oh yeah, I heard that. I thought it was kidneys.
Well, the market asked the eBay. It was, what can we do? The highest bid was on a liver, so
Oh, okay.
we're
I
going to
have
check
2
that out.
kidneys though.
Do you? Look, get on eBay, see if we can get some more
I'm
bids.
on it.
All right, actually, we do have to take a very odd break with Mr. Matt Moniz. Please, Matt.
And now, an odd fact with Matthew Moniz.
Windmills always turn counterclockwise, except in art. Isn't that odd?
This has been an odd fact with Matthew Moniz.
Thank you, Matt. We love you. You're the best. Okay, let's talk about monsters, specifically vampires, because I know your book, Food for the Dead, wonderful book. Mine's autographed. Is yours? See? It's right there in the front somewhere. Food for the Dead, New England vampires, long before Twilight made them sparkle, before Lestat and Anne Rice, and before Bram Stoker made them kind of sexy. They weren't so sexy. What drew your attention to these vampire legends?
Well, it was a story I collected from somebody who was descended from, at the time I thought the last person exhumed as a vampire in America. And he heard it as a family story. And so after I heard that, I obviously I wanted to know, what it was based on.
Right.
One of the things you want to do with legends is try to get down to the historical facts if you can. And it just opened up a whole world. That was just the tip of an iceberg that was much larger.
Right.
So when I wrote that book, I had about 20 different cases documented from different sources, a variety of sources. Since then, I found another 30.
Oh my gosh.
So it extends it back in time.
Right. So what is a vampire? I mean, per the 17 and 1800s.
A germ.
Okay. Yeah.
You can put it that way.
Right.
Tuberculosis.
Yeah. Right.
Germ.
Consumption.
That was killing people. Yeah.
Yep. And what I think is so interesting, you talked about this in your book too, is that how this was the Walking Dead they'd wake up in the morning, there'd be blood on their chin and on their night clothes,
Right.
as if they'd been feeding and not coughing up blood in the middle of the night while they were asleep.
And it seemed obvious. People with consumption, they waste away.
Right.
They get paler and weaker. As you say, as the disease progresses, they cough up blood. And so it looks like something is physically draining the life out of them in the blood.
And this is what's interesting to me about legends. I really believe a legend is a living, breathing entity unto itself. It can grow, evolve, and it can die.
Yeah.
Just stop talking about it. And if we do that collectively, it goes away. But vampires are still relevant. Now they're sexy teenagers who sparkle.
Right.
They've evolved to our time.
Well, they've always done that.
Yeah.
In terms of literature and popular culture and film and so on.
Right.
The vampire is a reflection of its time, basically, like any other legend. It's not mummified from the past.
Right.
It keeps growing and changing.
Yeah, and that's what I think is so interesting about all of these stories, that if they lose their relevance and we stop talking about them, they will go away. It's part of the reason I believe in ghosts, because if that story isn't getting re-energized by personal accounts, then people eventually will stop talking.
No, you need that dialect, as I mentioned earlier.
Right.
It's got to be at the borders of experience and understanding. Otherwise, it's not that interesting.
Right.
If we can incorporate it into our normal belief system, it goes away.
Right.
As a problem to talk about.
Yeah. This is such a great subject. We could go on for many hours, but sadly it is 30-odd minutes, and we are just about out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming.
Thank you,
I
Jeff.
appreciate it. Thanks for this great talk. The Pop Rocks were awesome. Bloody Mary might be waiting for us, but folks, please keep sending us your emails and your comments. We love it. And until next time, stay odd, folks. All right. All right.